What's up, guys? I am back today. I'm a little late to some of these new releases. I haven't been able to go to the theater very much lately. I've been incredibly busy. Life has just been kind of wild. But as you've probably seen, I reviewed a bunch of films from the Conjuring universe. I did a ranked list a really long time ago of every one of those films. As I said in some of those reviews, I was not going to go back through and watch every single one of these movies because they're not all good, but I was looking forward to watching this newest installment of The Conjuring because I like this world. I like the characters. I think they're fun movies. I think when they're done well, they can be very enjoyable. I love The Conjuring 1 and The Conjuring 2. Some of the other spin off films aren't really great, but Annabelle Comes Home, that I talked about, I think it's really fun. Not the greatest movie in the world, but still really entertaining. And so I was hoping that this would kind of align with some of the things that I really enjoy, especially because you're giving closure to these characters. I think very similarly, I talked about Insidious the Red Door, the last installment in the Insidious franchise, at least with those particular characters. A lot of people hated that movie. I actually enjoyed it for what it was. I didn't think that it was great, but I thought it was far better than a lot of the movies that came before it. The first Insidious really is the only one super worth watching, but I enjoyed that movie. I didn't think that it was terrible. So I was kind of hoping it would at least feel like that, where I could get enough enjoyment out of it to really appreciate it. And the film I'm going to be telling you about today is The Conjuring Last Rites. Conjuring Last Rites is directed by Michael Chaves. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren take on one last terrifying case involving mysterious entities they must confront. So I was looking forward to watching this movie. Like I said, I love the first two Conjuring movies. I like a couple of the spin-offs. I think it's a fun series. I was hoping that this would be a really great way to provide closure to these characters. And unfortunately, I thought this movie sucked. I was not a really big fan of it. It is not the worst thing that I've ever seen by any means. I just truly didn't care. I felt like this movie was so much of a rehash of everything that we've already seen in the first two films. The entities that were in this movie were not nearly as scary or threatening. I feel like the family drama at the core works for the most part when you're trying to provide context to, these characters we've known for so many movies. But I just had such a hard time staying invested because I felt like this movie could have been an hour shorter. It was just so much runtime that was wasted. And I'll talk about that a little bit more with you when I break the movie down today. So, as per all of these movies, at the beginning of the film, we are reintroduced to Ed and Lorraine Warren, where in this particular case, we are shown them much younger, giving birth to their daughter Judy. They were investigating this paranormal thing, investigating this mirror. Lorraine went into labor with their daughter. They go to the hospital. The entity followed them to the hospital. She gives birth to their daughter Judy. The daughter dies immediately, but they are able to bring her back to life. And so they see her as their pride and joy. They're just lucky that she is alive. Obviously, we've known this character throughout the Conjuring films and then obviously the spin offs. And in this film, when we jump to the current present, she's much older. She's in her 20s, I would imagine, somewhere in there, maybe a little younger. Not sure. They don't ever explicitly say. But she is dating this guy. She seems to be very happy with her life, but she is getting very extreme visions like her mother. And Ed and Lorraine aren't doing cases anymore. People don't seem to take them very seriously. The lectures that they used to hold, people don't show up, and the ones that do kind of make fun of them. And the reason why they aren't doing anything is because Ed is having serious medical problems. He's having issues with his heart, and they're afraid that if he has any more problems, that he could die. And so they've decided not to do that anymore. Well, of course, we are introduced to a new family. It's a very large family of 8 people living in a house together, and they come home from one of the girls' Catholic confirmations, and the grandmother gets a present for the young girl, and it's a mirror. And of course, it is the mirror that we saw at the beginning of the movie. And the mirror has some kind of entity attached to it that starts haunting the family, and the family becomes tortured and plagued by whatever this entity is. And the church reaches out multiple times to the Warrens to try and take on this case. They refuse it for a while until they get to a point where they feel like they cannot refuse it any longer. And the film is the Warrens going to this family's house to try to help them with this entity, even though it is one of the most difficult cases they have ever taken on. So, like I said, I did not like this movie at all. If I was going to say anything about the positives of this movie, it's really Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. They are the stronghold of this movie. Their performances are really really the only thing that kept me interested. I think having those characters exist together for such a long period in time, we've seen the issues that they've had together, we've seen them grow as a couple, and I think that their relationship really is the stronghold of the movie. I thought that they were both incredible as usual. I think the moments of closure that they gave to the characters was really excellent, and that was the best part of the movie for me. Anytime we were seeing moments between the two of them, I thought the movie was working at its best. Mia Tomlinson, who in this iteration plays Judy, was phenomenal as well. I really enjoyed her performance. I think she added a lot to the movie, especially towards the third act, where her character has to go through a lot of different things. I really appreciated the performance. Very believable. Her chemistry with Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga on screen was excellent, and that was really what kept me invested in the entirety of the movie. The performances aren't bad by any means from any of the other actors. I just found that to be the most fascinating and interesting part of the movie. And that's really the only positives I have for this thing. My issue with this is I did not care about any of the paranormal stuff in this movie. As soon as the mirror was introduced, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. This is going to be the most cliche thing. I was picking apart the plot points as soon as the movie started, and it followed those points pretty much specifically to the T. But the problem I have with this is none of the paranormal stuff is scary. The look of these people, the CGI they use on their face, it's so almost comically bad. I did not find any of these entities threatening like I did in the first two films. I just was like, anytime they tried to add a jump scare, I was just kind of like, okay, I feel like I've seen this 100,000 times. And the thing about series like this is you're obviously going to do some things the same way, but you have to try to do something to keep it fresh and exciting for the audience. And I don't feel like they did a very good job doing that. So many beats in this movie felt like the same things that we saw in The Conjuring 1 and 2. Not really doing anything differently, not going a different route with it, playing it the safest way imaginable. And once we get the reveal of what these entities are, I feel like there's not really as much of an explanation. And then the way they solve it is kind of like the most laughably cringe ending that you could possibly imagine to one of these movies. And there was a lot of potential. And I think when you're kind of showcasing this as the darkest case they've ever done and the reason why they hung it up and retired, there's got to be something more you can do with it to keep the audience on the edge of their seat. And the first hour of this movie is just a nothing burger. Like, I feel like there's hardly anything scary. The introduction to this family, they don't do a good job establishing these characters, and so you don't really care about the family that this is happening to. Where in the first two Conjuring films, James Wan does a phenomenal job, like, giving the family personality, building a dynamic. In this, it's really just people who are going through a horrible experience. And then you have things where something happens to one of the family members, and it kind of just happens off screen, and they tell you about it later. Like, so many moments in this movie felt like you were just kind of getting information later after it already happened. And when a movie's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, like, why are you skipping over things like that to add filler scenes that don't really do anything for us as audience members? And if I was going to describe this movie with one word, it's boring. Really, not a lot happens. At the end, there's some really goofy stuff with the mirror. It like spins 360 at one point. I just thought that it was the dumbest looking thing ever. They have to shoehorn Annabelle into this movie because it's like, hey, do you remember that? And you're doing the Leo DiCaprio point at the screen thing where you're like, hey, I remember that from the movie that I watched before. Do you guys remember? Because we've seen that. We've got to put it in the movie because that's the thing that you remember, because that's all you care about is the thing you remember. And that frustrates me, the remember me stuff and things. Everybody wants nostalgia. Everybody wants to reflect on something that already exists. Annabelle did not need to be in this movie at all. They could have had her in the back of just the room that the Warrens go into, and you could go through there and just point at everything and be like, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. But just do a new thing. It's really frustrating when you just feel like you get the same rehash shit over and over and over again. And when the movie ended, I was like, what did this really add to the franchise? And the answer is nothing. You get closure for the characters, but it's not really done in a way that's all that interesting. The stuff with Judy was fine, I guess. The actor who played her boyfriend did an okay job. I just found the character to be really annoying, and I felt like they could have given him more depth to make it interesting, like the relationship between the two of them. But I don't know, I just didn't care about this all that much. I think even if you're a fan of the series, you could skip over over watching it and never really miss anything. It was just kind of a waste of 2 hours and 20 minutes. So have you seen The Conjuring Last Rites? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. I thought this movie wasn't very good. I was kind of bored through most of it, and I feel like there was a lot of potential that just wasn't used. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.